So Dave and I realized that it was a pretty big mistake to start this whole Bird Tricks Tuesdays, we answer all your questions videos at a time where all of you are experiencing hormones with your parrots. So those of you asking tons and tons and tons upon tons of hormone-related questions, I'm sorry, but we are going to direct you over to a product that we've already made on hormones. It's an instant download. It's like 19 bucks. It's totally worth it. We filmed it with our birds, so we literally show you how easy it is, accidentally easy, to turn on your bird. We use our birds as demonstrations. So just to show how people accidentally do this all the time and how it leads to aggression and blah, 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 blah. It's like a 25+ minute video or something like that. So anyways, if you guys can go over to birdtricks.com/hormones, you will find it there. We have to direct you guys over there because we literally couldn't remake that better than we did. So I highly recommend that for those questions. And we're sorry that we started this right in the middle of hormones. So yeah. Hey guys, so this week's Tuesday video is going to be on the topic of discipline because most of the questions that came in this week were asking how to discipline your bird the best way, what's the best method to discipline your bird, how do you do it, what's the best technique of discipline, and it all revolved around disciplining your parrot. So first of all, I'm reading a book called The 5 Love Languages of Children, and I'm at a chapter that just actually said that discipline comes from a Greek word meaning to train. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but most people nowadays see it as getting somebody to comply or to have order or self-control, like seeking compliance, that sort of thing, which all of those things you are not going to get from your parrot. Dogs are parrots are very self-serving. I got asked recently if somebody thought that a parrot could be trained as a service animal, and I thought it was a really, really good question. And basically, intelligence-wise, yes, they're completely capable of learning everything that a service animal would need to learn. But natural ability, as far as like being naturally motivated to please somebody else, they aren't really interested in that. So it wouldn't be working within the bird's nature. Dogs are always seeking to please. Parrots could care less. They're more like, what's in it for me? So they're just not that sort of thing. So the same kind of goes for discipline. Discipline is giving guidelines and rules and expecting or teaching a child or a person, somebody, to follow them. And parrots, they don't see things like that. So bottom line is you can't use any sort of punishment or like teaching your bird to follow your guidelines or your house rules. That doesn't really work just because of how different parrots think. They really see you as their equal versus their superior or anything. So they're just kind of like, why should I listen to you? But a lot of your guys' problems can be easily solved with clicker training or target training or both. And I know that a lot of people, they kind of get all standoffish and they're like, I don't want to teach my bird tricks. And it's not about teaching your bird tricks. It's about teaching your bird that you can communicate with it. And you can use clicker training and touch training for an array of, you can use it for almost everything. If you just know how to use a clicker, this works for screaming. If you just know how to use a clicker, it works for unwanted behaviors and wanted behaviors. Really, when it comes to using discipline on parrots, the best form of discipline is just ignoring unwanted behaviors. And I know that a lot of you are like, okay, well, I can't ignore the screaming because it is gonna make my ears bleed. And I totally get that, and we will completely do a screaming video for you guys that's just strictly on screaming. But for now, a lot of the questions that you guys are asking can be fixed with clicker training. So if you can make one goal, and you have never introduced your bird to a clicker, please do so this week. All this looks like, I have a video called Clicker Training Made Easy. You should search for it on YouTube. It's super simple. You click, you give a treat. You click, you give a treat. You click, you give a treat. Until the bird starts anticipating every time it hears the click, it then starts looking for the treat. And you'll be able to tell when your bird finally understands what a clicker is. It doesn't take long, I promise. The training sessions are short. You guys are going to be amazed at how it changes your bird. Once you understand how to use a clicker, you can then reward wanted behaviors so you can see them more, and you can learn to ignore unwanted behaviors or replace those unwanted behaviors with wanted behaviors. One example would be your bird screams, but your bird also talks. Well, if you start training talking and start clicking and rewarding every time your bird talks, it's going to learn to do talking for attention instead of screaming. So that's kind of one example. Another thing that you guys can do for these unwanted behaviors of chewing the furniture or whatever your bird is doing is replace it with something that it can have. Don't always, and I say this with my daughter too, we constantly remind ourselves that you don't want to be like, no, you can't have that. No, you can't do this. No, 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 no. You don't want to always be telling them no. You want to be like, how about you can have this, and you need to replace it with something that they can have. Maybe your bird needs more toys. Maybe it needs its own bird safe cabinet to destroy. Go get some scrap pieces that you can find that are non-toxic and just like raw wood and give it to your bird. Maybe it's asking for different types of toys, more engaging toys, harder toys, foraging toys. Just kind of look at the alternatives to what it can have and what it can destroy versus what it can't, and making rules. Try to give it something that's positive that it can have. The other thing is to distract your bird. A lot of, it's really easy, and I use this with my daughter all the time, but just simply distracting your bird works like a charm, and they're easily distracted. So use its favorite toy or its favorite person, or cue a trick. Incompatible behaviors are lifesavers. If your bird's being aggressive or doing something you don't want it to do, cue an incompatible behavior, which means it can't complete two behaviors at once. So again, with the screaming birds, because a lot of you have been talking about that, if your bird's screaming, cue it to talk or to sing or to whistle, some sort of noise that it can't do at the same time as screaming. Birds can't usually chew on something and turn in a circle. So if your bird's chewing on something, simply cue it to turn in a circle and reward that behavior, and just get it into a training mode, or cue it over to a perch. Things like that. So that works. Sorry, and I'm looking at my notes just to make sure that I'm good. But cueing things where your birds can earn treats for good behavior, replacing bad behaviors with wanted behaviors, such as the screaming versus the talking, and distracting your bird with other things that you can, and replacing behaviors is really, really, really positive ways to train your bird while not breaking the bond. I know a lot of people see immediate results with negative methods, such as your bird screaming, so you go over and you cover it so it's in the dark and it won't scream anymore. Or your bird screaming and you spray it in the face with a spray bottle. Or your bird bites and so you hit it. All of these, it's basically punishment. All of these methods show immediate results because usually, yes, the bird does stop screaming once it's covered, or is getting sprayed in the face with water, or it stops biting once it gets hit because it can't, because it got hit or thrown really far away. So you see an immediate result as far as the bird stops that negative behavior, but you do not see a long-term result. And that's why using positive techniques, it's so hard to convince people that they work, because you don't necessarily see the results right away. I mean, sometimes you definitely do. With clicker training and touch training, I would argue that you do. But with a lot of other things that take a long time, just as they took a long time to create the bad habit, such as biting or screaming, they may take an equal amount or longer to break the habit. Just as, you may have been smoking for 20 years and it might take you a long time to quit, or you might just be able to go cold turkey. Everybody's completely different. So just have patience and know that the bird's trying too. I tend personally to have more patience with animals than I do with people. So that part's not really hard for me, but I know it can be for some people, especially if you're dealing with screaming behavior. That would be really, really annoying. But bottom line is that all these negative things where you're using punishment or associating something negatively, such as a spray bottle, your bird should never view a spray bottle as negative. Your bird should love bathing and want to bathe almost every single day. These methods of basically doing something that's punishing to your bird have super damaging results, and they spiral out of control. So when, for example, your bird screams, you go over and you spray it with a spray bottle. Number one, the bird was screaming, most likely for attention. That's usually what they scream for. You went over and you gave it attention. Even though it was negative attention, it was still attention, which is exactly what it wanted. However, something crazy happened to it and it got sprayed in the face, and it was just like, why'd you do that? It doesn't comprehend that that's supposed to be punishment to make it stop screaming. To it screamed and it got you to come over. You just didn't do something that it really liked. But that doesn't mean that it's going to stop screaming for attention, because it works. So that's kind of an example of how we can interpret it a little bit wrong. We think it's punishment and it's like, time out or whatever. That kind of stuff It doesn't work with parrots. It just does not work. So please try the positive methods, and even if they take a little bit longer, your relationship with your bird is going to be amazing, and a baby step in the right direction is still a step in the right direction. It's still progress, so you should still be proud. I'm going to leave a link to the hormones course and a few other hormone-related blog posts for you guys that are just like can't handle what's going on with your bird right now. And I'm going to link to a blog by Patty also that's why punishment doesn't work, so you guys can read a little bit more and get elaborated on that. One other story I basically have for you is when we were performing in Saipan, Bondi flew to the stage one day. And keep in mind, we were performing for mainly Asian audiences at the height of bird flu, and our show was called Magical Flight. So it was birds flying around, but not usually landing on the stage. And all the people... Sorry, I had to switch cameras because that one died. Basically, everybody came to the show wearing masks because they were really terrified of bird flu. So this just kind of demonstrates how scared of the birds they actually were. Well, one day Bondi landed on the stage, and this lady in the front row, just right by the stage, screamed basically at Bondi because she was so terrified. Well, most people would think screaming back at a bird, even though Bondi wasn't yelling at her, but screaming at a bird would be negative and would be a form of punishment. But it's not. Especially to a cockatoo, this was super exciting, and no amount of pine nuts could top this sort of reinforcement. I mean, Dave and I looked at each other and we were just like, we're so screwed. We had another show in no time to fix this. And next show, she actually landed on the stage, ran down the stage, because we had kind of a runway there, with her wings out, screaming at the whole audience. And I mean, the people were just terrified and screaming, and plates were flying. They were freaking out, and she was just having the time of her life. So you have to remember that even though we may view some things as negative, birds don't. They usually don't. It can usually just be really damn exciting to them. So just another example of why not to use any sort of punishment. Yelling, hitting your bird. I know it can sometimes be a reaction, and you can definitely come back from that, but please don't make it a habit. Please try not to do it. And covering your bird's cage when it's screaming or doing something you don't want, putting it in timeout, spraying with a spray bottle. I've even heard of people like blowing in the bird's face to get it to stop biting, and I don't really know where that came from. I don't think that's really negative unless the bird thinks it's negative. I know we've blown in Cressy's face before, and she like loves it. It's actually a hormonal thing for her. She will get super hormonal with that, so we don't do that, but I remember somebody saying something about it. Anyways, so that's the whole thing with discipline and or punishment, because we kind of view them as the same thing in this day and age. So please keep those things in mind, and hopefully that's helpful. Just remember the clicker training, and if you guys have already clicker trained your bird, your goal should be touch training. And if you've already touch trained your bird, you should be able to teach it tricks. So you could start with the spin. That one is a great one. And you could also start with the wave if you're just good with the clicker, and you can use some capturing. So please make some goals for yourselves on progress to make during these videos, so that when we give you sort of like homework when it's your issue, that you can come back and progress with us, so we can keep troubleshooting different issues you may have that will help other people along the road. By the way, yes, I am filming in my bathroom because the lighting is pretty nice and my kid's asleep and Dave's off doing internet in Bermuda, and it was the only place to use because the theater's fully booked this week because we have a brand new cast. So they're practically having sleepovers in the theater. Otherwise, we would show a lot more bird demonstrations this week. Next week will be better. So our winner this week on the blog for the best comment is Brenda. She actually sent her comment in via email, so I couldn't screen capture it, but I did screen capture her follow-up comment on the latest blog post. And I just really liked, Brenda, that you were, excuse me, completely engaged. You were there from the very beginning of us announcing that we were going to do this all the way through so far, and I love that. I love seeing the same names over and over of people that are really keeping up with it. I also really appreciated your question because safety was your number one as far as socializing your bird with your dogs, but you were also, I don't know, just super real about it, about the fact that, hey, I want everybody to be able to live comfortably and confidently in my household, so how can I work through this in a safe way? And I just thought that was really cool because I think a lot of people can relate to that, whether it's safely with another animal, safely with another bird, safely with another person. with anything new and just the broad spectrum of socializing. So with her comment, a lot of other socializing comments came, so we made it a broader topic, but she was the one that really sparked that. So thank you, Brenda, and please let us know which product you would like that would benefit you the most. My personal recommendation based off of your issues and comments with your bird and your dogs would be our Total Transformation series, because it covers such a huge spectrum of issues and really shows and dives into each and every one of them and how to work through. So depending on the personality of your bird, I think you can really get in there analytically and dive in and make some headway. So, but that's just my personal recommendation off of what I think you're going through. So please let me know if you have a different idea of what you would like. We do have a little bit of everything: toys, cookbook, pellets, you name it, we got it. Stop screaming, stop biting, stop plucking, blah, blah, blah. So let us know what you want, and everybody please keep commenting. We love picking the winner, and we love that you guys are so into this and so engaged. One of the things that we wanted to clear up from last week was what a neutral space is and isn't, because a lot of people were saying, I did that. I trained both birds on my shoulder, a neutral space, and it's not working because one of them ends up biting me. And your shoulder, no matter how it feels to any bird, is not a neutral space because it's on you and you are a possession to a bird. So shoulders, anywhere on your body is not a neutral space. A neutral space is a space where neither bird it really spends a lot of time in, isn't very comfortable in, doesn't view as theirs. Just like the comfort level needs to be, I knew this would be totally distracting with my daughter. What are you doing? Soup. You're making soup? Yeah. Anyways, a neutral space is a space that's neutral to both birds. So both birds are evenly uncomfortable as they are comfortable. So you would want to take them to a room that you don't normally take them to, or put them on a couch that they don't normally get to go on. Something that's not in their comfort zone or anything like that. That's a neutral space. So I just wanted to clear that up for people that were trying to socialize and not getting anywhere because they weren't using a neutral space properly. Hey guys, so I just thought I'd show you a little behind the scenes. I'm gonna go take care of the birds right now. It's about 9 a.m. I think, but we just changed time schedules, so who knows? Anyways, here we go. Taking you through the backstage area. And they're kept in two different parts, but I'm gonna start with the smaller birds. Plus Jinx. And I left a big water bottle in my dressing room. Full for them. Sorry, this is like nauseating. I'll hold you further away so you can kind of see everything. I'm here. Can you tell? Here they are. And they've ripped up all their paper, per usual. So hard to focus. So here are the girls. They are super full, if you can't tell. They're huge right now. So interesting fact, while I'm cleaning cages. How we arrange these guys is we actually rotate which bird is in which cage quite often. Each cage has a toy and a wooden perch and then like a sandy cement perch. And basically the only rhyme or reason to this is that Bandit can't be next to Cressy, because Cressy antagonizes Bandit and makes him mad, and then he's crappy with us. So everybody can rotate, but the only thing that we don't let happen is Cressy and Bandit be neighbors where they can actually see each other. So he can go next to Bondi or the Conyers, but just not Cressy. So not everyone knows that we actually have doves, but we only have doves when we're on the cruise ship.
It's kind of an interesting story. I used to compete with the Dove Act and used to travel around the world with the Dove Act, and it's become harder and harder to travel with them. And so what we did is another magician was coming on board when we left 3 months ago, and so he wanted doves for his act, so we ordered some doves through actually through a friend of ours, through Zazu's house. You may have seen the video we did on that. And so she sent us some doves, which was awesome. And they're pretty tame, but not as tame as we need them for a magic show. And so what we're doing is every time these birds eat, the only time they eat is out of the a metal shot glass. And so what I'm doing now is I'm training all of these birds to fly to me.
We're in the very beginning stages.
So
That was awesome, sorry.
So you can tell that if this is the only way they eat, it takes a long time. But the training will take probably about, a couple of weeks. He's not quite hungry enough for this training right now, but it'll take a couple of weeks for him to be tame and showable. And then we've got a total of 5 on board. So over the next 2 to 3 months, my old competition act is going to be back in the show. So I gotta go get that dove. Oh, thanks, Bree. So right now we're desensitizing the birds.
We weren't planning on it though.
So this is leaps and bounds forward from where we were earlier today, and especially from yesterday and the day before. These birds were flying all over this hallway. They're still a little hand shy. He's watching. But the fact that they're flying to my hand and actually eating a little bit is huge leaps forward. So I'm going to keep doing this, and it's, believe it or not, it's helpful to have all the distractions because it's going to be worse on stage. But the fact that he's flying to me and landing on me and he's eating out of the shot glass is a lot of good progress. So we'll keep you posted, but this is where we're at now. Hold your arm out. Ready? Good job. Is that fun?
Yeah.
You're a bird trainer.
I am being for the same.